Cruise news time. Well, another cruise line has announced their protocols for summer sailings, and they're okay, but they're not the best for a majority of cruisers. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Lido, Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news updates. Well, we're going to hit very specifically these MSC protocols, but it's going to lead us into a broader conversation about the cruise restart, about the protocols for the cruise restart, and whether we like it or not. So I would encourage you to stay until the end. The thing I like about the MSC cruise protocols is that they make it pretty obvious what they're talking about. They've got three big categories. They've got the fully vaccinated, the not fully vaccinated, and then COVID recovered within 90 days of the cruise. A lot of people have been asking that question. What if I had the COVID? What if I have natural immunity? What about me? Put me in, coach. Well, here's one of the first cruise lines to come out and say, we've got something for you. This is the big thing to pay attention to. You've had to have recovered from COVID in the last 90 days. If you haven't recovered from COVID in the last 90 days, say you recovered from COVID 6 months ago, you are considered in the not fully vaccinated group. How about that? But fully vaccinated, not fully vaccinated, and COVID recovered within the last 90 days. They have pre-cruise requirements, they have terminal and embarkation requirements, and they have onboard, ashore, and disembarkation requirements. We're going to look at all three. I'm just going to call out the major highlights of these. Now, the interesting thing is there's not any requirement to be in any of these groups. You can travel fully vaccinated, you can travel not fully vaccinated. Of course, if you recover from COVID in the last 90 days, you can travel that way. There is no mandate for passengers on MSC to be fully vaccinated. However, each of these tiers have their own different cruise experience. And so depending how you want to cruise, that's what you're going to have to deal with. Now, if you are fully vaccinated and you want to cruise as a fully vaccinated traveler, they're going to send you an email with a link 48 hours before your cruise where you will have to upload your vaccination card. And then you have to bring that card to verify it once you get to the cruise terminal. Again, all completely voluntary, all your choice. If you want to cruise fully vaccinated, then you have to be able to show that you are vaccinated. So in the pre-cruise requirements, if you're fully vaccinated, there's not that many pre-cruise requirements. There's no testing. You're not forced to buy insurance. Now, if you're not fully vaccinated or you choose not to share your vaccine status with MSC, you will be treated as not fully vaccinated, and you do have to have a COVID test to go on your cruise. That test has to be taken 72 hours prior to departure, and that has to be a PCR test, and you have to present that at embarkation. Now, another interesting component, if you're considered not fully vaccinated, or if someone in the party that you're traveling with is not fully vaccinated, you do have to buy insurance from MSC. You have to buy MSC's cruise and travel insurance and COVID protection insurance or services. And this has to be done prior to your final payment being made. And then if you have had COVID in the last 90 days, you have to provide a test showing that you were positive for COVID in the last 90 days. And then you have to have a letter from a healthcare professional saying that you are recovered from COVID. So you have to have both of those pieces of documentation with you at embarkation. It is strongly recommended that you buy the insurance, but you don't have to buy the insurance. And then for all three of these categories, if you are going through the check-in process and there are other people in your party that you're making decisions for, you have to certify that you are making decisions for all the parties and that everybody will abide by the rules. Now, look, I'll leave a link for all this, or you can pause the video and read these slides. I just want to go through them quickly and kind of hit the highlights. So now if we go to terminal and embarkation requirements, all three of these groups, fully vaccinated, not fully vaccinated, recovered from COVID within 90 days, everybody has to have that antigen test at the point of embarkation. MSC will be covering the cost of the antigen test. The second point, here's a big one. If you test positive, you will be denied boarding with any of the not fully vaccinated members of your party. So if you're cruising and you have somebody in your party that's not vaccinated, you test positive for the COVID, then everybody in your party that's not vaccinated will also be denied boarding. If you have someone in your party that's fully vaccinated and asymptomatic and they do not test positive for COVID, they will be allowed to board. Also, a reminder, if you're not fully vaccinated, in addition to the test that you're getting at the port, you also have to bring the results from a test that you got within 3 days of the cruise. And then if if you've recovered from COVID, you also have to have that documentation that we talked about. You have to have the letter from the healthcare professional, and you also have to have proof that you had COVID within the last 90 days. Now let's look at the onboard, ashore, and disembarkation requirements. For all three categories, if at any time during the cruise you become symptomatic, you will receive a full-on PCR test on board. MSC will cover that expense. When it comes to shore excursions, if you're fully vaccinated, you're free to go ashore on each port of call. You can explore on your own, no restrictions. If you're not fully vaccinated, you are limited to the shore excursions that MSC offers. You cannot explore on your own. And if you're someone who has recovered from COVID, you will also be able to get off and explore the port as you will. All three categories, if you go to Ocean Cay, everybody can get off and do whatever they want at Ocean Cay, the private island. But for other ports of call, the vaccinated and the recovered from COVID, they can explore freely. The unvaccinated have to go on MSC shore excursions. There's one more requirement for the unvaccinated. For cruises 5 nights or longer, you'll be required to take an antigen test within 24 hours of disembarkation. If you test positive, you and your traveling party will be quarantined, and you will be required to follow our health and safety procedures. If anyone in your traveling party is fully vaccinated and non-symptomatic, they will not be required to quarantine. And then finally, the big thing that's left for all three of these categories, you will be required to wear a mask throughout the cruise while indoors and in public areas. Mask use is not required outdoors where social distancing is not possible outdoors. Mask use is recommended for all guests. That's true for the fully vaccinated. That's true for the not fully vaccinated. That is true for those that have recovered from COVID. So MSC is making the decision to commingle all passengers together in public spaces. And because of the commingling of passengers, vaccinated, unvaccinated, people who have recovered from COVID, since everyone will be commingled, then everybody has to wear a mask. So now with these MSC protocols, that means we have 3 sets of protocols from 3 major cruise lines, and they're all different. And they're all different around masking, really. I want to talk about that real quick, but first let me invite you to subscribe. If you enjoy staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. It doesn't cost anything, and only about 55% of you guys subscribe. I would love to get that up to 60. Can you help me? Again, it doesn't cost anything, and the benefit to you is you get notified when the new show comes out. Thank you in advance. Kind of interesting, the cruise lines, they've been beating that drum. The CDC needs to follow the science, and now the science from the CDC says that vaccinated people don't need to wear a mask indoor and outdoor, and they want to mask up the vaccinated. They're in a tough spot. Look, again, this is a period of grace, but I wish they would all do it the same way, because they're creating these choices based on competitive health protocols that I really didn't think they would make. Carnival, they went hardcore. They just said everybody has to be vaccinated so that nobody has to wear a mask. They're cruising with 95% vaccinated passengers. They have an exemption process for the unvaccinated, but since they're sailing at 95% vaccinated, no mask. And Royal's doing it even differently. They're saying, look, we're going to have cruises that are commingled, vaccinated, unvaccinated, and when everybody's together, you have to wear a mask, but that's okay. There'll be some places where the vaccinated can be without their mask, that the unvaccinated can't be. That's flying like a lead balloon. Royal doing it a different way, saying, look, we're happy to sail with vaccinated and unvaccinated passengers, but once on board, there's going to be a spot for the vaccinated and a spot for the unvaccinated. That's going over like a lead balloon. And now MSC comes out with this protocol, and it's different. We're just going to put everybody together, commingle everybody. Nobody has to go to a separate place. However, we are going to overlay the most restricted protocol onto the people that shouldn't even have to follow it. But honestly, it is all about choice, and looking at these protocols, I would probably choose Carnival right now because I'm interested in having that close to normal cruise experience. And for me, that would be cruising without a mask, especially when the CDC says that vaccinated people don't need to wear a mask. So again, it's good to have choice. I do believe we need to be gracious to these cruise lines during the cruise restart. But it's interesting how different all these protocols are. Let me kick this question over to you. What would you choose? Carnival, Royal, MSC? Which is the prevailing protocol that would make you make that choice? Let's have that conversation in the comments below. Thanks so much for checking out the show today. Please show your support by hitting the like button, or I'm taking all the alcohol out of your mixed drinks. It's all virgin drinks for you. What do you think about that? Tony with Lido, Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.